except in dog shit. What's up, gamers? Just putting away Sonic Forces here. Don't really know how it got off the shelf, though. You know what? It's been a while since I played Sonic Forces, and back then I was a stupid little 10-year-old. I wonder if the game is truly as bad as people say, or if people have just been hating on it to hate on it. To understand why Sonic Forces was so hated, we have to look at the marketing first. The game was first announced in July of 2016 with an apocalyptic trailer, showing Eggman clearly being an actual threat for once against Sonic. This was just a bad move on their part, with them even having the tagline at the end being "Join the Resistance," which this premise for a Sonic game would sell anyone, but the game barely shows any of this. Most they have is some buildings on fire and broken set pieces, and that's it. This is the game to try out more unique designs or new clothes for the characters, as they're hiding while a war is going on. Even with the interface and logo of the game having a Cold War propaganda feel to it, it doesn't do nearly enough to where the level title screens look empty compared to Generations. Another flaw with the trailer was having classic Sonic in general, with the trailer implying that Sonic needs all the help he can get. But this was already setting up people to compare this to Sonic Generations, or just think the game was Generations 2 as there wasn't a title revealed yet. Then Mania happened, which, first off, people have been wanting a game like it for years, so they aren't buying Forces for classic Sonic gameplay alone now. But even if Mania was bad, which it isn't, Sonic Forces was just going to be the second-hand pickings from Mania due to the release dates for fans of classic Sonic. As time went on, Sega chose to tie the story to Mania as well, for why classic Sonic was even here if the story wasn't about time, which just cements my point. They only included him to market the game towards classic fans, rather than improve his gameplay style and make a fun character to play as. He was so much of an afterthought that if you removed him from the story of the game, barely anything would have to be changed. Later trailers also gave us the customizable character reveal, which many thought was Bubsy at first. Kind of stupid of the community in my opinion, but Strike 3 came with the E3 2017 trailer, as they showed off that Shadow, Metal Sonic, Zavok, and Chaos were all returning, which this is huge, as 3 of the biggest Sonic villains, and Zavok, were returning, proving why Eggman is successful in his invasion this time. Shadow was kind of confusing, as at this point he had clearly been established as a hero, and also Zavok? Seriously? Why did they think people cared about Zavok? If you're going to do a bit of a hated villain, at least do Mephiles from Sonic 06. These characters are later proven to be fake versions in the story made by Infinite. Either way, the trailer ended showing off Infinite, the edgy new villain, because for some reason, they always have to be edgy in a Sonic game. They can't just be some guy who is pissed off at Sonic. Along with this, I want to talk about the box art, which is just really gross looking. Why did they overcrowd this thing so much? I get the main 3 playable characters on the front. This placement here even reminded me a lot of Sonic Generations box art, which is a neat touch. But why are Tails and Knuckles here? They serve no purpose in the game other than story reasons. And even then, the story is so small that there's no point. This basically implies that they're also going to be playable, which isn't true. Near the top is Infinite, Eggman, and Metal Sonic. Again, Eggman and Infinite are acceptable, and even in some cool poses. But why Metal Sonic? He has almost no cutscenes, only one boss fight, and no voice lines. If you're gonna choose one of the returning villains, at least do Shadow, as he plays a bigger role in the story, and got his own levels as DLC. The title sucks too, which I mentioned earlier, but Sonic Forces is such a weird name. I get the play on words due to him joining forces with the other 2 characters, but due to the marketing, it would make so much more sense for it to be Sonic Revolution, Sonic Uprising, or even Sonic Rebellion. The game launched in November of 2017, with it starting out with Modern Sonic and the overused masterpiece of a level, Green Hills. Green Hills? Seriously? If it succeeds once, do what Sega does and beat it into the ground another 22 times. I'll go a bit more in depth with Green Hills and the levels later, but Modern Sonic on its own is just boring. I mean, this was bound to happen at this point, as Sonic Forces is the 4th boost style game, and on top of that, Sonic's gameplay on its own doesn't have a gimmick this time around due to the custom character. The levels themselves were actually quite fun, with there being 10 Sonic specific levels, 7 if you take away the boss stages. I love how fast you can get a boost charge, then proceed to blast through a bunch of enemies. I also didn't find a lot of jankiness this time around, which for Sonic Forces seems like a huge surprise. The homing attack tended to have a mind of its own sometimes, and the 2D sections felt really floaty. Along with that, in the more platforming heavy sections, it was quite hard to tell when and where you're going to hit the ground. After beating Green Hills, you get officially introduced to the villains while Sonic gets his ass kicked. Along with this, you meet the terrible writing and dialogue behind the game. I can't tell whether or not this is on the voice actors for not delivering their lines correctly, or the writers for making the characters overly explain everything they do. I laughed so many times while playing this game, and not when they were trying to be funny, rather due to how cardboard the characters sound.
There's sand everywhere! Green Hill's looking a lot more like Sand Hill right now. Shadow, it's you? Zavok! Metal! Chaos! Huh?
Whoa, this guy is faster than Sonic!
I gotta figure out the secret of his power.
Whoa, you gotta be kidding. That's just a special effect, right?
No, it's not. While we're under the Phantom Ruby's control, it's a part of our reality.
The sun! It's gone! What? What just happened?
The game goes for this super cheap form of storytelling, with there being minimal cutscenes. Rather, the characters just talking while a static model of their characters swaps in and out. This makes the game feel more like an RPG rather than a Sonic game. I get if they wanted to go for more of a show don't tell approach, but you can't do that when characters still explain every little thing that's happened either way. This mostly boils down to Sega not spending the extra money and time to make cutscenes for every interaction, but this still annoys me, as a lot of interesting things happen within these dialogues that are entirely passed over. Sonic gets tortured for months. Keep the 10+ rating, I don't care about that, but at least show some of Eggman conquering the planet. The actual cutscenes that are present tend to result in just more terrible dialogue, while characters stand around with the occasional bit of action. I hate the characters in Sonic Forces as well, as they get dumbed down to the most basic traits. Tails acts like a coward up until Sonic shows up, and even then, he doesn't help when Sonic gets his ass beat. Wouldn't you think after months of being alone, Tails would start to act like a leader and help out? No, says Sonic Team while they destroy all of the previous developments within Tails as a character. Amy only cares about Sonic and nothing else going on in the plot, while all the other characters might as well have been cameo appearances. Sonic Force's only redeemable trait here is that they made Knuckles act like Knuckles, rather than the typical stupid character that Sonic Boom made him out to be. Eggman doesn't do anything either, with him taking a background role as a villain compared to Infinite, which sucks to see. I also hate the designs of the citizens here, as they look so basic and boring. I get that they have to be able to transform into anything the avatar is made into, but still, this is the best you can do? The avatar soon gets introduced, which I think is an excellent feature for the game. You can choose from 7 animal species, with each having small bonuses. For example, the wolf collects coins automatically, and the bird has a double jump. I personally chose to go with the bird for my first character, and to be honest, the double jump barely helps. It's quite similar to Sonic's gameplay, but instead of a boost, you use Wispins. These are kinda like weapons that have one basic attack, and a special move charged after collecting a Wisp capsule. You can only have one type of weapon at a time though, so you have to plan ahead. Thankfully, you're still able to beat every level with every kind of Wispin. I both love and hate these, as they should seriously move away from Wisps at this point, but at least they made something unique this time around. The main extra thing to set apart the avatar is the customization with various clothes to choose from and unlock. And well, there's something alright. Me! I'm a gamer!
You're a virgin.
Oh, okay. The clothing is a great way to make each player feel unique in their playthroughs. You get new clothing for almost anything, beating a level, getting an S rank, etc. So there's plenty of options to choose from. You can even rent an avatar from another player to try them out, though I never felt like doing this. The avatar gets 7 unique levels and 1 boss to run through. Something cool is that there's 4 tag team levels as well, where Sonic and the avatar are playable at the same time. This is a cool idea, but due to how similar the characters' gameplays are to each other, you'll mostly be going through as one core character with the occasional swap to the other one. I love the double boost though, which is just fun to use then blast through a bunch of enemies while the core music plays. These sequences are scripted sections though, which kinda sucks as you can't do it anywhere. Also, the music didn't even play most of the time apart from the 7th level, which just feels awkward as you can tell they're hyping it up just for it to be silent. It starts off with a button mashing sequence as well though, and if you don't do anything at all, Sonic and the Avatar just stumble around for a few seconds, before boosting anyways. Classic Sonic gets introduced by just popping into the story because they clearly couldn't think of anything interesting. There's 6 specific Classic Sonic levels to play, and I feel like this is the perfect amount to make sure the character doesn't get stale. As you expect, the levels are completely in 2D, which is great until you remember the problem with the 2D sections feeling floaty. I hate this as it makes the levels so unenjoyable to play through, as you can never build up a lot of speed before having to take your time at a platforming section to make sure you aren't hit or killed. This shouldn't even be a problem, as in other 2D Sonic games, you're able to build up large amounts of speed and still pass the platforming. I mean, Sonic Mania was being made at the same time as this. Couldn't they have taken a look at how the physics and levels were being handled over there, as they clearly only included Classic Sonic due to Mania releasing? And even if they were hesitant on this due to Sonic Mania being developed by someone besides Sonic Team, Sonic Generations is right there to be copied from. Honestly, if they just reused Sonic Generations physics, the game would have been completely fine. There was no need to reinvent the wheel when people see Generations as the best Sonic game in years. And they knew this. They specifically mentioned in the marketing of the game that it was made by the people who made Colors and Generations. I truly hope we see Generations 2 one day, but I thank God that this wasn't it due to how Classic Sonic was treated. In total, there's 23 core levels besides the boss fights, which are spread across 7 environments consisting of Green Hills, Chemical Plant, City, Death Egg, Mystic Jungle, Metropolis, and Eggman Empire Fortress. While I loved Mystic Jungle and Metropolis for their unique designs and concepts, this still gets pretty annoying as we have to see each environment 3 or more times. So that means Green Hills is even more saturated. Yay! I mean, I get why they didn't make a whole bunch of unique environments, but they could have just stuck to 3 times only. 1 for each character, mind you. It's also weird how they dropped the 2-act structure in this game, most likely to beef up the overall level count. I mean, at least they tried to make the levels as unique as possible from each other, for example with Stage 7, but when they follow the same 7 basic level types, they start to blend together. I promise everyone remembers Studiopolis from Sonic Mania, but not City from Sonic Forces. As you progress, you can also unlock special stages from beating certain levels, and extra stages from collecting red rings. These are just 2D platforming challenges with Sonic and the Avatar, which, at this point, you should know my stance on 2D in this game, but these were honestly kinda fun as a break from the core gameplay, and as a quick optional challenge to get done. I do wish there were more of these as they show unique concepts that went mostly unused in the core levels. Past this, we also have the SOS missions where you get an alert on an old level that you've already beaten to help someone out. This usually results in freeing an avatar somewhere in the level or using that avatar to recomplete the level. I mean, this addition was okay, I guess. Not bad, not good. While going through these levels, you'll be listening to some amazing music. The music has always been one of the best parts of the Sonic franchise and something you can rely on when it comes to the various low points in the series. Thankfully, they didn't disappoint here, with all of the tracks being a blast to listen to, with various artists making the tracks. Hell, they even got help from the London Symphony Orchestra. The main theme song, Fist Bump, was performed and written by Douglas Robb, and I gotta hand it to them. This track is amazing and fits Sonic really well. Overall, the music is just really great. Besides the levels, we also have a few boss fights to take care of. These consist of what you expect: Eggman, Infinite, and the fake versions of the villains. Notably, Chaos never reappears again past the first reveal cutscene, and a few background shots. Also, you never fight against Shadow, as the real Shadow takes him out with one swift kick. The actual bosses that you do get to fight are quite anticlimactic. For the modern Sonic ones, it just comes to avoiding attacks until you can mash some buttons to beat them, or boosting up to them and mashing buttons to beat them again. Avatar boss fights just result in you spraying them with your Wispin, and Classic Sonic is knocking things thrown at you back at them. These all felt super cheap and quickly thrown together. Hell, if you don't double boost during the Metal Sonic fight, he just sits there waiting for you to activate it. The final boss isn't much better, as it continues these same basic structures. The levels leading up to it aren't great either, as Infinite, after being beaten, just disappears from the story without any further explanation. They also introduce null space around here for the first time, which feels important as Sonic gets trapped in it, just for them to escape immediately. With the sun about to destroy the planet, because of course it is, you're meant to feel a sense of urgency throughout these levels, but it never happens. I wish I was on the edge of my seat while going through this, but I was just waiting for the game to end at this point. Anyways, back to the final boss. The final sequence has you get transported to null space again, where, you guessed it, we boost up to them and spam the A button until we do damage. The sequence ends with a triple boost, which acts all climactic even though it really isn't. So, the good guys win, Classic Sonic disappears as he served his purpose as marketing for the game, and Sonic and the Avatar part ways. The collectibles, for the most part, follow the same Sonic pattern. You have your ranks, with S rank being the highest. Playing on hard mode makes this insanely easy, as you'll almost never get anything below an A. This gets added on even more with the new challenge system. Daily challenges give you a multiplier to help you out, going all the way up to 3 times, but there is a pretty long cooldown before they're activated. The challenges also give you extra clothes for your avatar for getting S ranks, beating time trials, and just other small challenges. Returning to the basics, you have 5 red coins spread across the stage, and upon collecting them, you have to collect another 5 coins, but this time in a numbered order. And finally after that, you get 5 silver moon coins within a time limit. The latter 2 have their rings fairly close to the others in that set, but this doesn't change just how tedious getting every ring is. Due to the amount of levels that there are and the fact that there's 3 sets of rings, we have to play each level a minimum of 3 times. Then we gotta do another 2 runs though if we didn't get a set of red rings in the first time through, or had gotten an S rank. Then finally one more time for the time trial mode. This equals up to 6 playthroughs of the same level if you don't know exactly what you're doing. And this isn't even counting the SOS missions. Sonic Forces also got 2 notable free DLC packs. Let's start with the smaller one, which is Super Sonic. It basically lets you play as Super Sonic after beating a level for the first time, though you still have to collect the 50 rings first. I love and hate this, as at least the developers didn't just shove the Chaos Emeralds somewhere into the story, but you had to make it DLC. This small thing was also going to be paid DLC originally too. The second pack is 3 prequel levels, where you follow Shadow, and they just feel like reskinned Sonic stages. The main takeaway from this is that Infinite only became an edgelord due to Shadow beating him up and then bullying him into a mental breakdown. Shadow is also available to be played after beating a Sonic stage for the first time, but oddly not in all levels. This just shows how they weren't even trying to make Shadow feel unique when compared to the Sonic stages. But it is free DLC, so I don't have a lot to complain about. Don't play Sonic Forces. Everything you might like about the game is done better in other games. Like Classic Sonic, play Sonic Mania or Sonic Generations. Like Modern Sonic, play Sonic Colors or Sonic Generations. Or just play Sonic Generations. It is a great game and has stood the test of time, while Sonic Forces amounts to nothing but lost hopes and dreams. I wonder when enough time will have passed for people to see Sonic Forces as a good game all along, just because they're nostalgic for it, resulting in me being seen as an idiot and hated globally. Oh god, it's happening.